Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. The court, Judge Stephen J. Hippler, on the 18th of October, 2025, issued his third order seeking the parties' positions. That is regarding if you have objections or non-objections to the unsealing of the following documents. These are for the months of January, February, and March of 2025, beginning with document number 88. If you were to look at the prior two court orders regarding filings for the months of April and May, June and July, you would see them numbered 87, 86, 85, 84, all the way down to item number 1, the first item that's listed in the first order regarding filings from June and July 2025. Now, what is up for possible consideration for unsealing to the public? You can go through this document, read them. There's a lot of jury questionnaires, proposals, information regarding what was then a forthcoming trial, some exhibits. But what is extremely interesting to me, and what I think that many people in the community are interested in, are the in limine filings that were under seal. Let's look, for example, at page number 2. Item number 121, 31725. This tells us that this is a March 17th, 2025. Exhibits 1, 2, and 3. That's what's under seal. 2. Defendant's objections to state's motion in limine regarding AT&T timing advance records, something extremely hotly contested between the parties. This had to do basically with the 8458 phone, which was Mr. Kohberger's phone, and what the state looked at to attempt to place him in certain locations within suspect vehicle 1. In the evening of the 12th of November into the 13th of November, 2022. The next, item number 122, same date, March 17th, 2025, exhibits 1 and 2 to defendant's objections to state's motion in limine regarding text messages and testimony. And if you would like to look at both of these responses, their responses in objection to the state's motion, go to this date, March 17th, 2025. There were a bevy of filings on that date. That's when responses were due. So you have to sift through them to find what you're looking for, to find the defendant's objection to both. Here is page 1 of the objection to the state motion in limine relative to text messages and testimony, and I'll leave you to read it for yourself by pulling it down from the docket. This has to do with the state wanting to have entered into evidence at the trial, which was still pending on March 17th, 2025. Messages between, for example, the two surviving roommates. You can see the objections that the defense had to having this admitted into evidence. You're going to read, as you read through this file, that they were concerned about prejudice, violations to Mr. Kohberger's constitutional privileges, right to a fair trial, and other legal authority cited to directly from the United States Constitution. Now, what is exhibits 1, 2, and 3? As to timing advance? What is exhibits 1 and 2 as to text messages and testimony? We don't know, because those items were all filed under seal, exactly what is stated within these exhibits. Soup to nuts, beginning to end. Is it possible that certain information from the filings relative to timing advance records that were not placed in the public domain when this case was proceeding are there? We don't know. Same with the text messages and testimony. While there were grids that were offered regarding what text messages said. The actual texts themselves were not released to the public. For example, there's a text message from one of the roommates to the private driver after he had purportedly dropped off Kaylee and Madison. And there's a description as to what this text allegedly said, but the text isn't released to the public. None of these texts were released to the public. Hopefully, that is what is coming for consideration before the court. We know that everything is under seal because the court granted the defense motion to file these exhibits under seal. So again, nothing on the court docket as of yet regarding these matters. Now finally, always a good time to go over what a motion in limine is, and let's do so here. Motion is an application for a court order. A response in opposition is the other side responding to the motion and giving their due process right to be heard as to how they feel as to whether this motion should be, in this situation, not granted because it's in opposition, and you will see what the oppositions are and why when you read these two responses. Then the third item in the filings would be reply. Reply replies to the response. So it is, in both instances, state's motion. State has filed an application for a court order. To do what? To have an order entered in their favor to allow in limine, that means pre-trial, a ruling that this evidence would be admissible before the trial. For example, text messages and testimony. They wanted to get all these texts before the jury. That is what the defense was objecting to here. So it goes motion, originating party here, the state, from the other side, in opposition here to both motions by the defense, and then later on replying the state, replying to the response. That's how all three of the briefings go in any filing in limine here before trial. They didn't want to wait until the trial to start objecting to things, and then the jury needs to possibly be let into the jury room while the court asks both sides for their positions and makes a ruling. They attempted to get all of these rulings pre-trial, and they did. Judge Hippler did rule on all of the in limine proceedings after that very long day where multiple in limine motions were entertained before the court in early April of 2025. So at this point, remains to be seen what the two sides are going to say. Their responses to the court's order here, this third order, is due 14 days from October 16th, 2025. That's the date of filing. That's going to take us to approximately the 30th of October, which is coming up this week. Once those responses in opposition are filed to all of these items, including the very important in limine filings, we will, of course, advise you. So stay tuned to the Indie Zone. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Hit the notifications button so that you will be alerted when new content hits our YouTube channel. And then if you have any comments, any opinions, any thoughts regarding this matter, please leave them here. Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you very much for joining us here today.